All right, let's get ready to dive into something a little bit unexpected. It's a
Yeah.
good one, though, those of you listening in colder climates or,
Right.
uh, you know, as we head into winter here, we are diving into the world of running in the cold.
Yeah.
So we've got some articles here from fitness websites and blogs like Run Brian Run Form,
Mm.
all about training in those chilly temps. And we're gonna look at not only why it's beneficial,
Right.
but also some tips to make it enjoyable and safe.
It's interesting how many people see winter as the time to take a break,
Yeah.
put a pause on their fitness routine.
Yeah.
But as we're about to uncover, there's some unique advantages to winter training.
Well, let's start with the most obvious one, or at least what comes to my mind.
Okay.
It's kind of like the elephant in the room. Isn't running in the cold bad for you?
Right.
Like, I grew up being told, bundle up or you'll catch a cold.
Right. There's this pervasive myth that cold equals sickness. But our bodies are much more resilient than we give them credit for.
Yeah.
And both Run, Brian, Run and Form debunk this myth, pointing to research that cold weather exercise can actually strengthen your immune system.
Yeah. Run Brian Run had a fascinating study they highlighted from the University of Bath.
Okay.
And they found that during exercise, the number of those illness-fighting T cells in your body increased tenfold.
Wow.
And they get deployed to areas like your lungs and nasal passages, which are the most vulnerable when it's cold.
That's like your body knows exactly what to do
Yeah,
to fight off those winter bugs.
exactly. So not only is running in the cold not going to make you sick, it might actually make you stronger and healthier.
Right.
Now, let's talk about something that I think probably everyone listening to this is interested in,
Okay.
especially as we, are coming out of the holiday season, New Year's resolutions.
Right.
What about calorie burn? Is it true that you burn more calories when running in the cold?
Absolutely. Run, Brian, Run breaks down how your body has to work harder to maintain its core temperature when it's cold out.
Yeah.
Think of it as your internal furnace kicking into overdrive,
Right.
which leads to, yes, more calories burned.
Okay, so it's like a bonus workout just for being out in the elements.
Right.
But Form mentioned something else I thought was really interesting, brown fat.
Yes.
They said that cold exposure can stimulate the metabolism of brown fat, which is way more efficient at burning calories than white fat.
That's right. Brown fat is packed with mitochondria, the powerhouses of your cells.
Right.
And when you're exposed to cold, your body starts to burn brown fat to generate heat to keep you warm.
Wow. Okay, I am officially intrigued.
Yeah,
This is making me rethink like my entire winter workout routine.
absolutely.
But it's not just about, calorie burn and staying warm, right?
Right.
There's some serious performance benefits too, especially for those of us training for races.
Yeah, one key advantage is that cooler temperatures reduce the stress on your body.
Yeah.
You don't overheat as quickly,
Right.
meaning you can potentially run longer distances with less effort.
That makes sense. Like your body can just work more efficiently
Right.
when it's not battling the heat.
And Form cites a study from Northern Arizona University
Okay.
that found that cold weather training could increase VO2 max by 34% and running pace by 29%.
Wait, hold on. Break that down for me.
Okay.
VO2 max. What is that and why is a 34% increase a big deal?
VO2 max is a measure of how efficiently your body uses oxygen
Okay.
during exercise.
Okay.
The higher your VO2 max, the better your endurance and your overall cardiovascular fitness.
Got it.
So 34% increase means you could potentially sustain a faster pace for a longer period, leading to significant improvements in your race times.
Wow. So that's a game changer.
It is.
So you start to see why those, elite runners are training in, high altitude,
Right.
cold environments.
Exactly.
But it's not all about, pushing limits and, breaking records, right? There's this other side of running in the cold that I think is often overlooked, which is the mental health benefits.
Yes, we often associate winter with the winter blues
Yeah.
or seasonal affective disorder,
Right.
but running in the cold can actually be a powerful mood booster.
Yeah. And Brian Run talked about that runner's high.
Yes.
Those endorphins being amplified in cold weather. It's
Huh?
like the cold magnifies those feel-good chemicals.
It does.
And then even on a cloudy day, just that bit of daylight you're getting
Absolutely.
can make a big difference.
Yeah.
Form specifically mentions the release of mood-boosting hormones like noradrenaline and beta endorphin,
Yes.
which contribute to a more positive mental state.
It's like a natural antidepressant
Right.
right there in your running shoes.
Okay, so we've got the immune boost, the calorie burning, the performance benefits,
Mm-hmm.
the mood lift. Are we missing any benefits here?
Well, our sources mentioned a few more, like improved oxygen uptake, a strengthened cardiovascular system, and even reduced inflammation.
Wow.
There was even a fascinating tidbit about potential benefits for dementia prevention
Really?
linked to cold water swimming.
Wow, so that's a whole other
That's a whole other
deep dive we need to do.
deep dive.
Cold water swimming. But
Yeah. Yeah.
before we get ahead of ourselves, let's talk about the practicalities
Okay.
of running in the cold, you know?
Yeah.
It's one thing to talk about all these benefits, but how do you actually do it without, like, freezing your butt off?
Right. That's a great point, and it's where things can get tricky.
Yeah.
Luckily, our sources provide some excellent guidance on how to stay safe and comfortable.
Okay, let's hear it. What are the key things to keep in mind?
Well, first and foremost, layering.
Okay.
It's not about piling on as many clothes as possible, but strategically choosing layers
Right.
that work together to regulate your body temperature.
It's like building a high-tech cocoon for yourself.
Exactly. You want to start with a moisture-wicking base layer to pull sweat away. Then you add an insulating middle layer
Got
to
it.
trap heat, and then you top it off with a waterproof, breathable outer layer
Okay.
to protect you from the elements.
Makes sense. What about extremities? My fingers and toes are always the first to go.
Right, and that's because your body prioritizes blood flow to your core
Mm.
to keep your vital organs warm.
Right.
So protecting your extremities is key.
Okay.
Gloves, warm hat,
Yeah.
and even a scarf or a mask if it's really frigid out there.
Yeah. Brian Ron also talked about hydration,
Yes, very important.
which I often forget about in the winter because I'm not sweating as much.
Right.
But you're still losing fluids
You are.
through your breath and exertion.
Yes, and they also offer a simple tip.
Okay.
Breathe through your nose.
Okay.
It might feel a little strange at first,
Mm-hmm.
but it helps to humidify and warm the air before it reaches your lungs.
Now that is a good tip.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've covered, the basics of staying warm,
Mm-hmm.
but now I want to know more about training effectively in the cold. Like, are there specific things we should be doing differently in our workouts?
Yeah, there are definitely some strategies that can help.
Okay.
Form had some interesting insights on this. They actually suggested the ideal temperature for endurance gains
Okay.
is around 10-11 degrees C.
That surprises me. I always thought.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, colder the better.
You think, oh, it must be like sub-zero to really push your limits.
That's right.
But your body doesn't have to work as hard to cool itself down
Yeah.
in those slightly chilly temperatures.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So while running in a blizzard might sound hardcore, it's not necessarily the most effective way to train.
Okay, so it's about finding that sweet spot.
Right.
Where you're challenged, but not overwhelmed.
Exactly.
During the cold.
Now, speaking of challenges,
Yeah.
let's talk about the mental game.
Yes, the mental game of training in the winter. It's one thing to have all the right gear,
Yeah.
have all this knowledge, but
Yeah.
how do you stay motivated
Yeah.
when it's dark and cold?
Right.
And that couch is calling your name.
That is where things get interesting, and it's where the concept of the off-season comes into play.
Now, when I hear off season, I think of like taking a break,
Right.
indulging in some holiday treats,
Right. But Full Circle Endurance presented a different perspective on this.
They did.
They emphasized that the off-season is not about taking time off completely.
Okay.
It's about strategic detraining.
Okay, strategic detraining.
Yes.
What does that mean?
It means intentionally reducing your training volume and intensity
Okay.
to allow your body to recover and rebuild while still maintaining a base level of fitness.
Okay.
So you're not stopping exercise altogether. You're
Yeah.
just shifting gears
Okay.
and focusing on different aspects.
So it's like hitting the reset button,
It is.
but not losing all the progress.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
And Full Circle Endurance highlighted the importance of establishing good habits
Yeah.
during this period.
Okay.
Habits that will carry you through to your next big goal.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
It's like using the off season to really build that strong foundation.
exactly.
I'm always struggling with motivation,
Right.
when there's no race on the horizon.
Yeah. How do you stay engaged
Yeah.
when those external motivators are gone?
Yes.
That's a common challenge.
Yeah.
And Full Circle Endurance offers some insights on how to navigate that.
Okay.
They stress the importance of recognizing what truly motivates you,
Right?
your why.
Yeah. They talk about finding that deeper reason
Mm.
for engaging in endurance sports.
Whether it's improving your health, challenging yourself,
Yeah.
or connecting with a community,
Yeah.
tapping into that why
Yeah.
can be really powerful
It can be very powerful.
when the going gets tough.
Okay. That is a good reminder as we head into this next, couple of months here.
It is.
We've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive.
We have.
We've kind of debunked that myth that running in the cold is bad for you. And we've looked at those amazing physiological and mental benefits.
We have.
And we've even started to get into the practicalities
Yeah.
of training in colder temperatures. But we're just getting started.
We are.
All right, welcome back to our deep dive into cold weather running. Before we jump into more training tips, I want to revisit that study from Form
Oh, yeah.
that found the ideal temperature for endurance gains is around 10 to 11 degrees Celsius.
Right.
It really challenged my assumptions about the colder the better.
It's surprising, isn't it?
It is.
But it makes sense when you think about it.
Yeah.
Your body doesn't have to work as hard to cool itself down in those temperatures.
Right.
So that means more energy can be directed towards performance.
So it's not about braving the most extreme conditions, but rather finding that sweet spot
Exactly.
where you're challenged but not overwhelmed by the cold.
Exactly.
Now, speaking of specific training strategies, Form recommended hill reps and fartlek sessions for cold weather running.
Right.
What makes those workouts so effective in the cold?
Well, hill reps are great for cold weather training because they naturally elevate your heart rate
Okay.
and challenge your muscles more than running on flat terrain.
Mm-hmm.
That increased intensity helps you stay warm even when it's chilly out.
Right. So it's like built-in interval training
Yes.
with the added benefit of staying warmer.
Exactly.
I like it.
And what about fartlek sessions?
Yeah, fartlek. So
Bite play
speed play, I love it.
in Swedish.
How do those play into the cold weather training equation?
So fartlek involves alternating between periods of high-intensity effort and recovery.
Okay.
But unlike structured interval training, the changes in pace are more random
Yeah.
and spontaneous.
Oh, okay.
So this type of workout improves your speed and endurance,
Okay.
but it also mimics the unpredictable nature of running outdoors,
Right.
especially in winter conditions where you might encounter ice or snowdrifts.
Right. You can't really plan for that.
Exactly.
That sounds like a fun and engaging way to kind of challenge your body and mind
It is.
while also adapting to those ever-changing elements.
Yeah, I mean, both of these workouts would be beneficial during the off-season,
Yeah.
as Full Circle Endurance described it.
Right.
You're working on strength, speed, and adaptability
Mm-hmm.
without putting too much stress on your body.
Now let's talk about that mental game of training in the winter.
Okay.
It's one thing to have all the right gear and knowledge, but how do you stay motivated
Right.
when it's dark and cold and you just want to stay inside?
It's definitely a challenge, but it's not insurmountable.
Yeah.
Remember, Full Circle Endurance's emphasis on finding your why,
Right.
that deep-rooted reason for engaging in endurance sports,
Yeah.
can be incredibly powerful.
It can be. Yeah. Whether it's improving your health, pushing your limits, or just enjoying that sense of accomplishment.
Yeah.
It's a powerful source of fuel when the weather's not cooperating.
Yeah. And sometimes you need more than just inspiration. You need practical strategies.
Yeah. What are some things people can do to stay on track?
Well, start with manageable goals.
Okay.
Don't feel like you have to overhaul your entire routine overnight.
Mhm.
Start with adding a 10-minute walk outside each day,
Yep.
or swapping one indoor workout for an outdoor one,
Mm-hmm.
and be sure to celebrate those small victories along the way.
Yeah. That's good advice. It's all about building momentum.
Exactly.
Finding ways to make it enjoyable, like maybe listen to a good podcast while you're running or find a scenic route, something like that.
Yeah, those are great ideas.
Yeah.
And don't underestimate the power of community.
Oh.
Joining a running group
Mm-hmm.
or finding a training partner can provide accountability
Yeah.
and make those cold weather runs feel less daunting.
It becomes more like a social event.
Exactly.
Now, speaking of support, let's go back to those practical considerations for running in the cold.
Okay.
We talked about layering earlier, but are there other things people should keep in mind?
Yeah, one thing that often gets overlooked is protecting your skin
Oh, right.
from the elements.
Yeah.
Cold air and wind can really dry it out.
Yeah.
So applying a moisturizer before you head out is essential.
Okay, good tip.
And if you're running in snowy or icy conditions,
Yeah.
sunglasses can be helpful to protect your eyes from glare and windburn.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
What about nutrition? Does our fueling strategy need to change when we're training in the cold?
While the basic principles of good sports nutrition still apply,
Okay.
there are some subtle adjustments you might want to consider.
Okay.
For example, your body will naturally burn more calories to stay warm.
Right.
So you might find that you need to eat a bit more,
Yeah, especially if you're doing like longer runs.
especially if you're doing longer runs. Yeah,
Yeah, I've heard that warm drinks can be helpful too for regulating your body temperature.
that's right. Warm water, herbal tea,
Okay.
even a diluted sports drink
Okay.
can be good options, especially if you're running for an hour or more.
Now, before we move on, I want to circle back to the mental health aspect
Right.
of cold weather training. We talked about sunlight exposure
Yes.
for combating the winter blues, but what about those days when it's just too dark and dreary to even think about going outside?
It's a great question and one that a lot of people struggle with.
Yeah.
One strategy that can be helpful is incorporating light therapy
Okay.
into your routine.
Now, I've heard of these special lamps that
Yeah.
mimic natural sunlight,
Exactly.
and they can help regulate your circadian rhythm and improve your mood.
That's right. But for those who don't have access to light therapy,
Yeah.
there are other strategies.
What are they?
Well, even small changes can make a big difference.
Yeah.
Try to get as much natural light as possible,
Yeah.
even if it's just for a few minutes each day.
Okay.
Open your blinds, sit near your window,
But
or take a short walk outside during your lunch break.
yeah, and then just don't underestimate the power of social connection.
Oh, that's so important.
Yeah.
Spending time with loved ones,
Yeah.
engaging in hobbies you enjoy.
Right.
These can all help lift your spirits.
Okay, so it's like a holistic approach
It is.
to well-being.
Exactly.
Love it.
Now, I want to dive a little deeper into this concept of the off-season.
Okay, yeah, we touched on it briefly,
We did.
but I think it's such a crucial aspect of training,
Is.
especially for those who are serious about improving their performance.
You're right. The off-season is often misunderstood
Yeah.
as a time to rest and do nothing.
Right, like a vacation.
Yes, but as full circle endurance emphasized, it's actually a time for strategic detraining and preparation.
So it's about using that time wisely
It is.
to really set yourself up for success.
Exactly.
Can you expand on that? Like, what does that look like in practice?
First and foremost, it's crucial to allow your body to recover
Okay.
from the demands of the previous training cycle.
Okay, so that means reducing mileage, prioritizing sleep.
Yes, reduce your mileage and intensity, prioritize sleep,
Yeah.
and focus on proper nutrition.
And address any injuries.
Yeah, it's a great time to address any niggling injuries or imbalances.
So it's like giving your body a much needed tune-up.
Exactly.
Now, while you're doing that, you can focus on other aspects of training that are often neglected.
Yes, such as strength training, cross-training,
Okay.
and flexibility work.
Now, strength training is something that I know a lot of runners shy away from,
They do.
but I've heard it can be so beneficial.
It is. It helps build a strong foundation,
Okay.
which is essential for injury prevention and improving running economy.
Okay, so why is it particularly important during the off-season?
Well, during the off-season, when you're not focused on high-volume running,
Right.
it's an ideal time to prioritize strength work.
Okay, so you can really focus on building those muscles.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm convinced strength training is on my off-season to-do list.
Good.
What about cross-training?
Cross-training involves engaging in activities other than running,
Okay.
such as swimming, cycling, hiking, or even yoga.
Right, so working different muscle groups.
Yes, it helps work different muscle groups, improve cardiovascular fitness,
Okay.
and reduce the risk of overuse injuries.
So it's like challenging your body in new ways.
Exactly. And cross-training can also be a great way to stay active outdoors
Yeah,
during the winter months,
when you don't want to run.
especially if the running conditions aren't ideal.
Right, exactly. So it's a good alternative.
Yeah.
What about flexibility?
Flexibility is often overlooked,
It is.
but it's essential for maintaining a good range of motion,
Okay.
preventing muscle imbalances, and reducing the risk of injury.
Okay.
So the off-season is a great time to focus on stretching, yoga, or other activities.
Right, to improve your flexibility.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got recovery, strength training, cross-training, and flexibility,
We do.
all on the off-season agenda.
Yes.
Is there anything else runners should keep in mind during this phase?
One thing Full Circle Endurance emphasized was the importance of setting goals
Oh, yeah.
and staying motivated,
Even when there are no races coming up.
even in the absence of races.
So finding those alternative sources of motivation.
Yes, like setting process-oriented goals,
Right.
tracking your progress,
Okay.
or finding a training partner or group to keep you accountable.
So it's about finding ways to stay engaged and focused on the journey,
Exactly.
even when that finish line is still far away.
Yes, and it's important to remember that the off-season is not about perfection.
Hmm.
It's about making consistent progress towards your goals.
Okay.
even if it's just a little bit each day.
Little by little.
Exactly.
And enjoying the process.
And enjoying the process, yes.
Okay, because running should be fun.
It should be.
Not just about, achieving some arbitrary goal.
Exactly.
I think you've given our listeners a whole new perspective on the off-season.
I hope so.
It's not about taking a break. It's about using that time strategically.
It is.
To set yourself up for success, both physically and mentally.
Yes.
So building a foundation, exploring new activities, and enjoying the journey.
Well said. And remember, every runner's journey is unique.
It is.
What works for one person might not work for another.
That's true.
The key is to experiment, listen to your body, and find what keeps you motivated, healthy, and happy.
Great advice.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the final part.
Yes.
Our cold weather running deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
From the science of cold adaptation to, that strategic brilliance of the off-season.
Right.
Now I kind of want to bring it all together.
Okay.
Talk about how to actually make those winter runs happen.
Yeah, one of the things that I find fascinating about running in the cold is how it really changes your relationship with the environment.
That's a good point.
It's not just about putting in the miles.
Yeah.
It's about adapting to the elements, embracing the challenge,
right,
and finding beauty in the unexpected.
Yeah, it's like it takes you out of your comfort zone.
It does.
It forces you to be more present, more aware of your surroundings.
Absolutely, and that could be a really rewarding experience.
Yeah.
Both physically and mentally.
Now, speaking of challenges, let's revisit those workout suggestions.
Okay.
From form, the hill reps, and fartlek sessions.
Yeah.
We talked about why they're effective in cold weather, but do you have any, practical tips?
Sure. Let's start with hill reps.
Okay.
The key here is to find a hill that's challenging, but not overwhelming.
Right.
You want to be able to maintain good form throughout the rep.
Yeah.
So don't choose a hill that's so steep you're practically crawling up it.
It's about pushing yourself, but not to the point where your form breaks down.
Exactly.
So, what's a good starting point?
I would recommend starting with 6 to 8 reps.
Okay.
Focusing on powering up the hill with good form, and then jogging or walking back down for recovery.
Okay.
You can do 2-3 sets of these with a longer rest period between sets.
Okay. So as you get stronger, you can increase the reps in the sets.
Yes. Exactly.
Or find a steeper hill.
Find a steeper hill, yeah.
Challenge yourself even more.
The beauty of hill reps is that they're so adaptable.
Yeah. You can really tailor them.
Yes. To your fitness level.
It's what you need.
To your goals.
And what about fartlek?
Fartlek.
It sounds fun.
It is fun.
That speed play concept, but how do you actually structure a fartlek workout?
That's the best part. You don't.
You don't.
Fartlek is all about embracing spontaneity.
Okay.
And listening to your body.
So there's no set structure.
There's no set structure, no prescribed intervals.
Okay.
You simply vary your pace and intensity based on how you're feeling.
So you could be jogging along.
Yes.
And then just decide to sprint.
Yeah, sprint to the next lamppost. Exactly.
I love it.
Or you could pick up the pace for a certain distance.
Yeah.
Slow down to recover, then surge again when you feel ready.
Okay.
You can use landmarks or changes in terrain as cues.
Okay, that makes sense. So sprint up a hill.
Yes, sprint up a hill, jog along a flat stretch, and then do a fast walk downhill.
It sounds like a really fun and engaging way.
It is.
To break up the monotony of a regular run.
It is. And it's a great way to challenge both your body and your mind. Because you're constantly making decisions, adjusting your pace.
Yeah. You have to think about it. You can't just zone out.
You can't just zone out. You have to be present.
Now, before we wrap up, I want to touch on something that I think a lot of runners struggle with.
Okay.
Staying motivated during the off season.
Yeah.
We talked about finding your why,
right,
setting realistic goals, but are there any other mental strategies that can help stay committed when it's cold and those big races are still months away?
One strategy I find helpful is to focus on the process.
Okay.
Not just the outcome.
Instead of fixating on that distant race goal.
Exactly.
Okay.
Try to find joy in the daily ritual of running.
Yeah. Appreciate the feeling of your feet hitting the pavement.
Yes, the fresh air on your face.
Just being in the moment.
The rhythm of your breath. Exactly.
It's about being present.
It is.
And finding those little things that make running enjoyable.
Exactly.
Even when it's tough.
Yeah. And another strategy is to reframe your perspective on the off season.
Okay.
Instead of viewing it as a time of deprivation.
Right.
Try to see it as an opportunity for growth
Okay, yeah, I like
and
that
exploration. It's a chance to try new things, build strength, maybe even discover new passions.
Exactly. Maybe you take up yoga to improve your flexibility,
Hmm?
or join a hiking group to explore new trails,
Yeah.
or maybe you simply dedicate more time to strength training and cross-training.
Right. Become more well-rounded.
Exactly. It's about embracing the journey,
Yeah.
not just the destination.
I love that.
And that's a mindset that can benefit you,
Yeah.
not just in running, but in all areas of life.
Well said. I think we've covered just about everything
I think we have.
when it comes to running in the cold.
We've given them a lot to think about.
We have. We debunked the myths.
Yes.
Explored the benefits.
Mm-hmm.
And given our listeners all the practical strategies for staying safe.
For staying safe and motivated.
Motivated, and most importantly, enjoying those chilly runs.
Exactly.
So just to recap, we talked about layering.
Layering, hydration, breathing techniques.
Protecting your extremities.
Yes, all those important things.
We dove into the science, the cold adaptation, the brown fat, all that good stuff.
All that good stuff.
We explored the off-season.
We did.
And its role in recovery, strength building, and future success.
And how to stay mentally strong.
Mentally strong. Finding your why.
Yes, and enjoying the process.
Yes, as the temperature drops and the days get shorter.
Yes.
We encourage you to embrace it.
Embrace it.
Bundle up, head out into the cold, and you might be surprised
You might be.
by what you discover about yourself.
You might be surprised by the beauty out there.
Yeah, the beauty of winter.
Yes.
Happy running.
Happy running.